All right, aloha mai kako. Welcome back to the Dadditude, where we have started to invite some guests on. And I would like to introduce our guest today by sharing a story about how we met. So in 2015, I had gone to something called Principia. It was a gathering of leaders from all over the world. And I was going through a pretty deep process, and it had gone from things in terms of just like having these deep realizations, viewing myself into some pretty extraordinary experiences, things that I had difficulty even articulating. And as I went there and I was sharing with people my experiences, this, that, and the other, one name kept on coming up, and his name was Jack Jaffe. And so everyone would say, "Oh, you got to talk to Jack. Oh, you got to talk to Jack. You got to talk to Jack." I was like, "Okay, well, I don't know who this is. I look forward to meeting him." And so I set the intention, and the intention was to connect with Jack. And so there I am, sitting in one of the presentations, and there was just this feeling that I had. And up until this period in life, I didn't really think much, nor necessarily even acknowledge these feelings, but I was shifting. And so I felt this feeling that at that moment I was to just stand up and go outside of the presentation center. So I did. And it was funny because it was a really, I mean, an extraordinary presenter. What he was saying was really good. And this feeling was as powerful as it was present. So I stood up and I walk out, and I walk out. I'm like, okay, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm going. And I walk out and I walk out, and boom, there is Jack. Because up until that point, he had always been with someone. And when you're with Jack, you are with Jack. There is no one else around. He is with you in a way that, again, kind of transcends words. And so I walked straight over to him and I said, "I don't know, we don't know each other, but I know that I'm supposed to know you," or something along those lines, which has since then, now ongoing 6 years, has been something that when we align, it is absolutely time. And this is one of those days. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our guest today, Mr. Jack Jaffe.
Uh, Thank you, Michael. I love you. I love JR. I've missed you guys and my connection. These COVID times have like really been a challenge and a gift. Yeah, the opportunity to like be with myself and face myself, be with my kids, um, has really both brought out the best and the worst and let me grow. I mean, again, my life is a pursuit of the truth, and I keep having to walk through what I call my truth to get there. And so, yeah, when you came out that day, um, it was an opportunity for me to, again, to like tap in and connect to like information and the truth of what needed to come forward um, to be of service to you. And it is, I got tears in my eyes as I say it. Um, it is, no, it is one of the best things in my life that I get to be with people and I can see messages or things that they need to hear and share them with them and make a difference in their lives. Um, it's interesting to watch who I am when I'm not doing that. That's my challenge. When that's going on, it's like spirit is flowing through me and I get to share, okay, and make a difference and love, and it changes people's lives. And then I have to go back to this mundane world and walk in the place of being a father to four children, the youngest being a senior in high school, being divorced and having my kids bounce back and forth from one house to another. Uh, yeah, I mean, just so much. There's just so much to like be with. You shared the introduction, your story, and right before you shared that, JR and I were talking, and we're talking about his journey, and he's showing me the house that he lives in. And I remember, like, I don't know if it's 5 years ago or longer, but, you know, JR saw this house and he wanted this house, but it was impossible. It was like, there was no way that it could happen. It's impossible. It's beyond what he could think. Okay. And here he is walking me around, showing me the house and showing me all these changes. Yeah, it's like I'll add what my dad always told me, and that is the impossible just takes a little bit longer. So I want to pass it over to JR.
Well, thank you. And I want to tell how I met Jack, because Jack's one of these great people where he's a good, dear friend. Almost, you know, Jack and I, he's like my brother. He passed it best friend. And he could be like an uncle, but it's almost like the bond is, he's the uncle and my brother. And but when I first met him, you know, I never met anyone like Jack before. This was probably like 9-10 years ago, and he was very eccentric. And so I was like, wow. And I had these deep talks with him too. And I kept seeing him do magic with everyone. And he'd come up to me, he's like, here, stand there. And he'd be like, you know, at first I was like, okay. And I never did that before. And then he's like, giving me a hug in front of everyone. People are looking at me. And at first I'm like, well, what's going on? But then you have this other side of him, was this like businessman side of him. And so like at like 1 o'clock in the morning, we'd be in these bunk houses. Everyone else would kind of go to sleep, and it'd be Mark, Jack, me, and a few other guys. A bunch of them were from Hawaii, and he would teach like how to create wealth. And so part of how I even have this house is because I have you as a friend. And so, you know, the guy Mark was the other successful guy who I've learned it seems to go with being Jewish. A lot of the Jewish men I know seem to have figured out money. So I was like, I need to help these guys. And so, but anyways, he would teach. And so like Mark was very like thinker, right? Mark's very smart, not to say Jack's not. And I'm like, well, Jack, how do you make money? And he's like, I sit in my house and I attract wealth. And he's like, it's not from doing anything. He's like, I don't make it from doing it. It's from the being, which took me years to even get. I think I get now. But it was like, okay, sure. You know, the first year, it's like, okay, that sounds good. The next year, you're like, stuff I learned from you. And then I was like, I got to listen to this guy. You know, and then, you know, we've been through some stuff together and then different things and the bond and friendship. So I look at you as one of my favorite human beings on the planet. And, you know, and I do love you. And when I met you, you know, I was like, when I told either my mom or my wife, I was like, well, I met this shaman kind of guy. Like, what's a shaman kind of guy? Well, I'm like, it doesn't fit what I've thought of. But really, he's like a shaman kind of guy. And so it's like, and I was like, well, how do I even be a shaman? He's like, you know, you just be a shaman. and like, so anyways, you know, a lot of practice. I've learned a lot from Jack. And so, you know, he's fun to talk to, but he's also a good father. He's got 4 kids. He's a very successful businessman. And he's a good friend, and he's very, very outside the box and fun. So hopefully this conversation will get past all the I love yous and get into some crazy fun conversations. And yeah, and so I'll throw it back, you know, to you guys. What are we going to talk about today?
Well, if it's okay, the first thing I want to respond to or talk about is, you talked about wealth, and you know, there's a philosophy of I'll be happy when, you know, I'll be happy when I have X amount of money, when this, when that, and I'll tell you, okay, from experience, because I'm well set, but I've been worth 8 to 10 times what I'm worth today. And my whole life was about power, money, and manipulation. And it took losing most of my wealth and having it be enough to really start living life. So what money does is it exaggerates who you are. If you're an asshole, okay, you have money, you're going to expect to be a much bigger asshole. Okay. If you're kind, if you're generous, you're going to take that. And, so many people equate like money and wealth. And it's not, it doesn't run that way. Money's a damn tool that you can use in millions of different ways. Wealth is an attitude, a knowing. I run into financial hardship, okay, sometimes, not too frequently, but sometimes. But no matter what I run into, I know, okay, at the deepest level of myself, I know I'm going to be taken care of and that I will get to the other side of it. I may change some spending patterns or some of the things I'm doing, but when I do that, I open my heart. I open my belief even greater, especially when I'm struggling. And I believe, okay, that it's all going to work out for my benefit. I mean, you talk about magic. I believe, JR, that every single thing that happens to me, no matter what it feels like, is for my ultimate good.
100%.
And so, I mean, I had my beloved break up with me 3 weeks ago. And it's been incredibly painful and one of the most profoundly growth-filled experiences of my life. I feel better about myself and my wholeness, not as this shaman, this magic man, this people who changes other people's lives, but this empowered human who has all these challenges, all these problems, all this pain, and all of it is welcome. I've got 4 kids, and my youngest sprained his ankle yesterday, and he's at his mom's. And, talking with him and having him not want me to come over and help him and do my magic on him, okay, to fix his ankle yesterday, and then getting a call today and say, Dad, it blew up overnight. It really hurts. Come over and help me. Letting my children be responsible for their life. And I mean, I started with him at like the age of 10 and 11, letting him make decisions and letting him reap the results for those decisions, unless it was important for me to stop it. If the price was too great and his experience or knowledge. But other than that, okay, 10, 11, 13, 15, he gets to decide about his life and he gets to experience the results. And I don't soften him for him most of the time. I mean, I won't let my kids get really hurt, but I'll remember there's one time where I had brought him in and he'd done something that really hurt me and really upset me. He was like 16 years old. And I'm sharing with him how what he did was really, really hurt. And he starts crying. And as he's crying, I reach over and I touch his knee and I go, oh, I don't want you, okay, to hurt. It's okay. And I caught myself because you never want your kids to hurt. But I realized I was cheating him of the lesson. Okay, he hurt me. And so I turned to him, I said, you know what? I love you with all my heart. But yeah, I do want you to hurt. I want you to feel, okay, how you hurt me. I want you to learn and grow. I want you to imprint that and take it forward in your life so you're a better man. And it's really hard to let people I love be hurt. But sometimes stopping them from being hurt is the worst thing I can do for them. And so to the best of my ability, I love them, but I don't always protect them.
This seems like a big part with that. And thank you for that story. I mean, with 2 young boys, instinctually I go to wanting to protect, and I found that that's been, I'm cheating them of experiences that can make them stronger and help them grow. And so when you say that, I feel it. And with that part of the letting, the allowing, but it does sound like you're surrendering to a certain degree to the circumstances, providing the opportunity for them to make choices. And, JR, we've definitely talked about that for myself, and I know you had mentioned as well, this year has been learning that practice of surrender. So Jack, how did you get to that place? What has helped you to to bring this into your life as well as your children's as well?
Huh. Well, I will say that one of it is age and experience. When I was younger, I was much more of a control freak than I am now, and I like to control a lot of things. My mind likes to control a lot of things, and so it's having an awareness and a capacity to actually see where my motives are coming from. Am I doing something to protect my children from being hurt because I love them and I don't want them to be hurt? Or am I protecting them from being hurt, okay, and getting a lesson that would serve them because I don't want to feel that pain? So much of the time, I don't want to feel the pain. And so I've cheated people of lessons that would have served them. I've rescued people. And it's been a practice of opening myself up. And every time I learn something, I take it and I look back in my whole life. And I own, okay, the truth of whether or not I've hurt people in the belief that I had before this belief came. And I take responsibility for what I've done. One of the things my recently ex-beloved helped me see is I grew up in a time of like this incredible patriarchy of men being king and everyone and everything else being subservient. And there was a way of living that was right in those times, in the 60s and the 70s. Well, in 2010, in the 2020s, that type of patriarchy isn't right. It has evolved. People have evolved. And in the 3 years in relationship with her, she helped me let go of what I was taught was right and step into what is right now. And so there's this constantly beginning from now. I start my life now. A second from now, I start my life. A year from now, I start. It's constantly a new starting point, and it's always growing. I mean, I always want to be growing and expanding. It's just inherent in who I am. And so for me, like when I look at relationship, I not only need someone who I love and loves me, I need someone who wants to grow and keep growing no matter what. I need magic. Okay. What I do, okay, is fun. I love it. It also makes a huge difference in people's lives. It's a huge responsibility. And there are times that instead of bringing magic, I'm coming from my mind. And so being able to distinguish the difference of when it's my ego and when it's spirit is huge. And I practice taking that into every part of my life. On the other side, I play video games too much. I'm on the computer too much, TV too much. And it's like right now, at this point in my life, I'm seeing all these habits and patterns that I've been living with and taught my children. And I'm changing some of them. I started yoga 6 months ago. I'm doing another shamanic course where I'm learning things I never knew. So there's just this there are these choice points, and for the past month, I've really been working on doing things that support me in who it is I choose to be, rather than who it is I think I am and pretend to be. And that's been huge, seeing how much time I'm wasting playing these games instead of doing my yoga or doing my meditation, or doing some of the shamanic practices, or just slowing down and being with me, or slowing down and being with my kids, without an agenda, without a distraction. There's like tremendous sadness at how much I've inputted in the time with my kids rather than just go out into nature. I really respect you and JR in that area. You're stronger than me. Okay? And I love it. I get to see how you guys are living in certain ways that inspire me and help me make the changes that I need to. So and then there's just kindness, I treat myself, no, I'm starting to treat myself as kindly as I treat other people.
I've found that part of why we're here, as you were talking about figuring out which one's ego and which one's source, is kind of the journey, right? As we evolve and learn which one to listen to, and we can look back at some of the decisions we've made in the past and see, everything is better in hindsight. Was that decision based on love, or was that decision based on fear? And we can, kind of predict how it turned out. We look at these pivotal things in our life, and was the decision fear-based or, love-based? But hearing you guys talk about, I'm almost the extreme opposite when it comes to letting kids fall. The kids will fall down and I'll look over at them and I'm like, while they're crying, why do we fall? So we can get back up, get up. And it's like so much so it's like you got to learn fast, just learn. That's what Marshall Thurber does. Just let them learn. I can't go. Other people are I'm like, they're not going to learn if I do that. I could probably lean a little bit more towards the protecting them a little bit, but I'm like, no, it's hot. How are they going to learn? It's hot. You know what I mean? So many people would never let them get close, and so then they could burn the house down if they'd never played with fire. You want to stick your hand in there, you're gonna learn. That's why. But yeah, parenting, I think every year my philosophy on parenting changes as well. I think I have it right. And then the next year I was like, I was way off on that one. And the next year, that one that I thought was wrong, 4 years ago, that was the one. Okay, we'll go back to that. No, it wasn't it. That didn't work either. So it's I think as long as we're open to, changing, and flowing with, then we're able to evolve and grow.
So, JR, I've got a question for you. Before you bought the house, or before you could imagine buying the house you're in,
okay,
and now that you're living there, how did you parent yourself to make that happen?
I believed in myself more so than any other being on the planet, that I could do anything. And once I started believing that I could do anything, I could do anything. And so I guess how did I parent myself was give me the freedom to go make lots of mistakes, burn my hand, kick my toe, and I taught myself to fail fast, fail often, I kind of call it skipping ponds. You know, like small fish, you become the fish pond, the big fish, and time to get a new pond is like. Then it was just like skipping ponds. Like I don't even need that pond. Why would I go in there for 6 months? And that's how I parented myself. And you know, and I had mentors that I looked up to, people like you know, and others. You know, Mark Lefkowitz, Marshall Thurber, Eric, Marty, and it was cool to have a gang of people to talk issues through. You know, and people really pushing themselves. So if you're around people pushing themselves, it's kind of expected. You push, we're growing here, you know. And if we're with a bunch of guys that aren't growing, it's like, if you're growing, it's like, why are you trying to leave us? You know. So I think surrounding myself with people willing to work on themselves, you know, is how I manage myself. But now my daughter's 9. She's my parent. I'm the kid again.
Dude, I'm 65 and I am just a giant kid.
I know. And then it's like, what's a grown up? There is no such thing as a grown up.
No, but that's what I want to add is that is the secret to creation is you don't work, you play.
Yeah.
Play creates this energy. It just creates like results.
Mm-hmm. Well, I have a theory on that. I mean, so basically we're raising the vibrations by doing what we love, playing in whatever way fills our heart most, raises our vibration. By raising our vibrations, we automatically attract everything we want. It's like gravity.
So to that end, okay, as you play and you raise your vibration, okay, it's like what Michael said about me or what you said about me is that frequency goes out. Mm-hmm. And then you don't have to do anything and everything just comes to me.
And it's fun. I'm like, that's what I do now.
Yeah. and it's a concept. It's kind of like we did some seminars together called PSI seminars. And I remember going through the seminars and I would stick my chin out, put my arms to the side and go, okay, hurt me. Do whatever you have to do to help me grow. It's like, I'll go through it. And I spent years doing that. Yep. And then I read a book by this woman called Sanaya Roman called Living with Joy. And the concept in the book was to grow through joy instead of pain. And I was in my 30s and it was like so amazing. I spent 9 months just like radiating joy and growing 10 times faster than I ever had through pain. And it's really what brought into my life this like expansion, this allowing things to just come in, just letting it go out and allowing it to come to me instead of chasing it. And yeah, I mean, I do a great job with it. And I'm seeing so many areas I'm not doing it. Okay, my programming from my childhood, my programming from my adulthood, okay, all these stories, shame, pain, I mean, just all of this that is part of me. It's wounding, it hurts. You know, little Jack is still in here. And so bringing little Jack and loving him the way I love my kids, receiving myself, okay, and the broken parts of me and fathering myself and helping myself become more whole, just as I do for my kids, is really the process that I've really been focusing on and living recently. And it brings like tears to my eyes at how unkind I have been to myself in many ways throughout my life. And that, you know, in many ways, I've been an angry parent to myself. And it's taken years to bring that awareness in. And it's something now that I'm really focusing on. They say awareness is the precursor to change. So I'm aware of this pattern of judging myself harshly, beating myself up. And so now there's this, okay, well, you know what? I don't deserve that. So what if I do this differently? What if I actually like pick myself up and hold myself and love that part of me that's hurting, that's scared, that's angry, that's sad, and just love him without needing to change him. And then instead of letting him be the boss, just bring him into my heart and let this 65-year-old wise shaman loving man run my life instead of this 13 or 6-year-old who's in so much pain. He gets to be a part of me. I want to hear his voice. I want to learn from him. I want him to tell me everything. But it's time to stop letting those other parts of me be the boss.
You know, just yesterday I was talking with someone about how she was feeling unheard by her family. And we're talking about resonance and how there's a part of herself that she hasn't been listening to. And that part, I mean, I feel that's such a huge thing, Jack, because so many of us are running in our lives. And it comes from this place, something that most of us aren't even aware of. And to be able to actually pause, and you said it really, really well, to love yourself like you love your children. You know, I feel like our children really are just amazing teachers in so many ways. And to actually sit and be present within ourselves. And I want to speak more from the perspective of a man, can be frightening. You know, I think of how many people choose to escape reality rather than just sitting in his presence. Whether it's a matter of, you know, turning on the TV or so on and so forth. But I mean, just the willingness, the openness, you know, the kindness that's required to just sit with all of what you just said. I mean, how does one even begin? Like, I feel that that's a, you know, for a lot of people to hear that is like, wow, I don't even know where to start. Like, how can a person who is stuck in a loop, who is in a cycle of hurt and harm, of what have you, even begin to bring in that level of awareness before even looking at the change?
For me,
For you.
there's a commitment to the truth.
Mm.
And the truth is greater than me.
Mm.
I have a lot of my truths and my beliefs, and I'm always willing to let go of what I believe when I come into a greater truth. So that's, again, the awareness is the precursor to change. There's this commitment to the truth. And then there's this commitment to myself.
Mm.
And I get to be who I am. I have people like you guys, okay, who like love me. I mean, like really love me. Even when I'm hurting or I'm not loving myself, you guys see me and you love me. And to give myself permission to love myself with all my faults, all my flaws, everything that's wrong with me. And yet I still receive me, I still love me. And this is my starting point. That's it. This isn't who I am. This is how I've been up until now. Okay? And I go inside and I start feeling the pain. And it hurts like hell. This past month, I've been admitting things to myself and feeling things that I really haven't felt. If you know Enneagrams, I'm a 7. And so 7s are the most optimistic people in the world. And anytime something is painful, okay, they jump to future events and feel good. And like the last 3 months, my practice has been feeling sad, feeling angry, feeling scared, and not leaving it. Like sitting in it. There being nothing wrong with being in pain. And whereas I wouldn't let myself be there for an hour most of the time, I've spent days, especially with breaking up with my beloved, having her break up with me rather. But the lessons that I'm getting, the wholeness that I'm getting with myself from her doing that, the things that I'm seeing, I just have like so much gratitude for. And it hurts. There's an expression, how's it go? Let's see. Life has pain in it. Pain is a part of life. You're not going to avoid having pain. Suffering, okay, is optional. You can be in pain, experience it, and then it's gone. But if you're in pain and you choose to keep replaying it over and over and over, it's like you get stuck in that loop and you think it instead of feel it. That's the challenge. Is if it's going over and over and over, you're thinking it, you're actually not feeling it. And slowing down, slowing your breath down, the slower and deeper you breathe in and out, the more you feel. The faster you breathe in and out, the more you pop up into your head. And so to make a practice of slowing your breath down, of dropping into your body, I notice a lot of the time, I start to talk a little faster, and I pop right up here and I'm out of my body. And, on the other hand, I also, half the time I'm traveling through the universe while I'm sitting here talking. Okay, so, but there's a difference, okay? That is an expansion of being connected to everything. This is an escape and a jumping into the mind. The mind is an incredible tool. Just like money is an incredible tool. But like any tool, it depends on how you use it. If you allow it to be the master, the mind is trained in suffering. Look at the world. The mind is trained in suffering. We need to train it to step from suffering into more. And whatever that more is for you, it's not up to me to tell, oh, this is it. There is no this is it. It's different for every person. Every person's walk is different. Different things don't work for some people and work for others. Okay? And it's not about getting it right. Okay? Getting it right feels good. But that feel good is up in the ego, in the mind. Okay? It's about the walk. That's it. The things that I do right feel really, really good, It's like, hey, the things I do wrong help me grow.
That's where the expansion happens.
They teach me.
We don't learn from getting it right.
Nope.
That's actually not true, JR. Okay? You can learn a lot from getting it right.
You can learn a lot from anything.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say, getting it right feels really good, but there are other lessons you can get from getting it right if you keep going to a higher level of it. Okay. But it's just that when getting it wrong, the pain makes us take notice and focus on, okay, I'm learning this. I want to add this. Getting it right, we're not as motivated to look if there's what else there is there. But sometimes getting it right can be the doorway to a whole new level.
Correct. But at the same time, if you're only always getting it right, you're probably not growing.
If
Because
you're always getting
by getting things wrong, we get to learn along the way as well.
JR, if you're always getting things right, you're in your ego.
No, it's always.
There is never always getting it right.
Unless you're me. No.
Well, see, this is what I love about these conversations. Kind of to echo what Jack was saying. I mean, JR, we met at that same event, and you were the first person I was looking forward to meeting, because you got Alicia and I connected to Dallas, who was then able to watch our son, who then allowed us to go and attend this. So I remember it clearly, because the first thing that we said was like, man, thank you so much for, helping us out. And you said something to the effect of, well, don't thank me, thank the angels. They conspired to make all of this happen. And, that 2015 to now, I mean, I feel like there's something that's coming up in our conversation in this moment, in the experience of this now, that speaks to companionship, fellowship, brotherhood. And then kind of echoing what Jack, you were talking about, how we surround ourselves, who we surround ourselves with, how that can help to enrich and enhance our experiences of growth, and how sometimes things fall apart, and how, I guess, that just phenomena, we've not been in touch, Jack, at least you and I, for at least directly, for a couple of years, though I often have you in my mind. And anytime I hear Colorado, anytime I start to go into my own spiritual practice, anytime I deal, see, or experience a dragon, there are certain things that are just in my mind. You're actually a verb, Jack, that are just so Jaffy. and I just love, though, after having not been in direct contact, how we can come together and it's seamless, how we can be together, and it's almost limitless in terms of what we can connect on, discuss, but then also experience. So I don't know if either of you want to take that in terms of the importance of our relationships, brotherhood, or something along those lines, because I feel like that's
I'd like to go with that, and I'd like to start off by saying I would never want to go 2 years without connecting with you, Jack. So that's never happened since I met you. And yeah, I'm like, oh God, no, you got good thing we brought him on the show. You guys can't.
Yes.
Only a year, 4 months, 3 days, and 22 hours, just so you know.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I was like, someone we both know. I'm like, Jack Jaffe. And he's like, yeah. But anyways, okay. But as long as I'm having people, like, I think that we all have things to teach each other. And one of the things I learned, I didn't even know what a personal growth class was in 2010. And then in 2010, I started taking them and liking them. And what I found is that we all have different skills to learn from each other. So I'd be in a class with someone who's really, really good at making money, but doesn't know how to make friends. Right. And fucking good. Has so much money and he would trade it all for a friend. And in my mind, I'm like, I know how to make friends. Everyone's my friend. How the hell do you make money? You know what I mean? And so and then this person's this person. And then, I'm like, God, I've always wanted to learn this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I'm so lucky that this person's spending time with me. And that person's thinking, oh, and I get to learn how to make friends, or he's funny looking and I get to laugh at him. You know what I mean? I don't know what they're getting out of it, but it's like, I think we have a lot to learn from each other. And I think, if we're leaning from kind of love and not expecting things, there's a lot to be learned from everyone. But with us two, an example, you two, it's like we're on this mission of learning more about ourselves and getting better and stronger. And what I call it as a metaphor is looking in the mirror, staring at the mirror. It's not easy to stare in the mirror and critique yourself and learn what's wrong and then actually fix it. And you guys do that, and some of our other friends do that, and surrounding yourself with people that are willing to do that, and then growing together and sharing what we've learned along the way so that we can learn from each other, and then actually watching your friends in front of you evolve into like a different being and going, well, if that person can do that. I remember hanging out with Jack, and I remember, and Jack would just play. He'd just laugh and play, like fart joke kind of plays. You know what I mean? Just especially when there's no girls around. He even got, even more fart jokes. We'll just put it that way. And so then, I just looked at him as a fun guy. And then later on, I found out he was this like successful guy, and I didn't even know you could connect those two. I didn't, you could be, and it was just learning from each other. And then through, watching him learn to love himself more over the last 10 years. He loved everyone else. He still does love everyone else, but more so it was all about helping everyone else and never himself. And now watching him evolve, watching you evolve, and just surrounding myself with a group of people committed to making themselves better and also making the world a better place, and it's a way to root each other on, even if we're not saying anything, just by watching people be the best that they can be, and and be vulnerable and stuff like that. I think that's kind of what's cool about what we do here is masculine men being vulnerable.
Yeah, I'll take it, JR. I was sitting here just really thinking that, if you go back 10 years to who I was and who you met and how joking and playful, there was a woundedness to it, a need for attention, and a fear of actually sharing who I was that I had to grow through. I mean, I still like play a tremendous amount. It's
That's
cool, really. I mean, I teach people how to play. Okay, that's just part of how I live life. And there's been this taking it off automatic. Okay, because I either bring people really close or actually hold them at arm's distance and don't let them get too close in the past. And so going through that wounding and that protection of getting vulnerable and letting people in deeper and trusting has been a huge part of my journey, and I like look up and I respect, the two of you like deeply for just how open and vulnerable you guys are. And so it's a lesson for me in how I want to be. It's like, I want to be like JR when I grow up. I'm grow up,
Me too. Me too.
I mean, that's the thoughts I had. I'm like, that's what I want to be. I want to go help a bunch of people have fun and do whatever the hell I want.
I'm trying to remember what you were saying at the end, because there was something that it kicked up for me right before you finished. Not about vulnerable, right before vulnerable. Do you remember?
Like being both fun and successful, or I don't know.
Masculine men being vulnerable.
Yeah, I think,
growth
there's
mindset.
something here. There was a gem that just like jumped out, and it's like, okay, if it's supposed to, it'll return. And so just letting go of like the need to control everything, and instead like I'm feeling this energy and this connection to you guys and this flow that deserves to be honored. Like I could get stuck on that and like I like the fact I mentioned it, but I could try and recapture it and spend the next however long chasing that rather than being here with you. And the importance of not following the mind, the importance of like staying in presence, because a lot of times we're present, we're here, but we're not in presence. We're not really here. We've got 3 other things going on, and I'm trying to respond to this and do that. No, I'm with you guys, and so the time of just sitting here and being with you, it is important. It's meaningful. It's moving to me. And I think I think that's part of what I was actually connecting to is just the depth of love that I have for you guys. I mean, we haven't gotten together in a couple of years, okay? But the love, the respect, the trust, um, yeah, it's boundless. It's not just like present, it's freaking boundless. And in the end of my relationship, I realized how many relationships that I love, like you two, I've let fall by the wayside. I have not fed, I have not brought into my life. You guys add value to my life tremendously. And yeah, I have not honored that value the way that I would like to with you and with other people. And I'm realizing it in the last 3 weeks as I come more and more into like more of a wholeness with myself, okay, instead of this feeling good in my relationship, okay, this walking through the pain of disengaging from all that. And there are days of sadness and days of anger and just different waves that go through. I reached this wholeness like 2 days ago. It's like brand freaking new. And it's like I feel like empowered again, but at the next level. Like what I'm feeling is new. I've never been in the place that I am and I'm feeling right now. The appreciation, gratitude, love, presence, connection to the moment is like multiplied. And so I'm learning to treat the moment with more respect than I have my whole life right now. And it's not to say I'm not playing my games or on the computer or doing other things. It's to say I'm not doing that as much. I'm making other choices that feed the me that I really, really desire to be, I choose to be, but that in the past I didn't choose. It's like who I wanted to think I was. And that's this, are we being the man, okay, who we really are, really want to be? How honest are we being with ourselves about who we are today, this moment? Your friend who is having problems, Michael, how honest is she being with herself? Not of fixing anything, but of just who she is. And instead of putting this rose-colored glasses over it, like ripping all the freaking filters off and going, you know what? Holy shit, I've been an asshole this past 3 years to so many people. I've been unconscious. I don't choose that anymore. I don't know how, okay, but I don't choose that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that I've found helps me stay in alignment is deciding what I stand for, and even if it's for the year. And so like what you say, I don't choose that anymore. For me, this year's intention is to love everyone and everything with humility. And, I'll get mad at someone or something will come up and then I'll have that thought in my head, am I loving everyone and everything with humility, like I say? And then I'll choose love. And there's other times I'm like, I have the best comeback in the fucking world and I'm righteous and right. And it's like, am I really going to waste this? If I say this, is this, and I still say it sometimes, but not very often.
Hey, JR, I've heard of this word humility. What does it mean? I don't think I've ever really experienced it.
I'll let you just find it out for yourself. It's a journey. It's something my whole house is working on.
I humbly accept.
We tell our kids they're awesome and encourage them, and they are awesome and stuff. And it's like
Well, you know, kind of on those lines, I really do like that, you know, intentionality, context. I always like to pause, reflect, introspect, take a look at things that are patterns that have come up and use that to help set those intentions, you know, things that happened last year, you know, feelings of disconnect, things that happened with Alicia and I has helped me to set the context for intimacy. And that's just a deep knowing. And for me, it really is just all about me. Like, I want to be intimate with me. Like, I want to be, you know, very attentive and open and curious about what's happening inside, because I want a deeper relationship there. And so I feel like, you know, being able to, and especially as we talk about growth, as we talk about vulnerability, and especially as a man, you know, I feel that it really is important to have things that, yes, are intentional, and then also things that are inspirational. Like, I am inspired to, you know, moments of tears when I just am in this sense of just deep loving and recognition of me. And it's not anything that I've done, because I've played that game. It's like, I will do this, I will do that. JR, you and I have talked about that, the things that help to reinforce something. But kind of to Jack, your point, as I move beyond all of that and recognize me being beautiful, being supported, being loved, being accepted by the sheer phenomena of being. I don't know. It just, I find these moments of just, you know, the magic in the mundane, the extraordinary in times that would otherwise appear ordinary, and just divine moments of connectivity in every moment. Like this year, and I guess the me that I am really connecting with, who's always been there, I just haven't really been attentive to nor really listened to as much, has been sensational. And so as we look at that then as setting intentions, that inspirational piece, I'm not sure where we are on time right now before we dive down another rabbit hole, but
Time's not even real.
what's that?
Time's not even real.
Right. There it is. There it is.
It's funny. I just looked at the clock right before you said time. It was funny.
Oh, there. Jack, I'm picking up what you're putting down, Jack. But I don't know, where does that for us as men, as us as fathers, because there is a part that, you know, we definitely are learning from our children, and our children are also, you know, imprinted and to a certain degree encoded by our very actions, our very beingness. So I feel there's at least for me, I am doing this for me, and I also recognize that this also has an affected influence on our children. I don't know if anyone want to pick up on that.
Yeah,
Jack, you got something.
You okay if I pick it up, JR?
Do it, man.
Yeah, I'll pick up on that, but I want to actually expand on that. Okay, it's not only our children; it's like everyone in the universe. You know, JR, you said, you know, you're bringing this intention of humility and love. I think the three of us would agree that I have a big ego. Okay, would you agree?
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
And that big ego, okay, has this idea, this belief that I'm supposed to do something like freaking incredible in this world. And so I walk in this like feeling of there's a calling that I'm being called towards in everything I do. And then I go into my heart and I go into my connection to source. And I make a difference in everyone's life that I can. And I can be walking down the street and not say anything to someone. And there's this energy of like love, or I'll smile at someone and see them light up. And so I'm constantly putting ripples out into the world to make the world a better place. And if I never do anything truly large and great, that's enough. And so, yeah, my walk doesn't change, JR. I don't add love or humility. My walk is walking a walk that makes a difference in the world and makes it better. And there are times I'm going to fail miserably, and that's going to be exactly what the world needs. And so this like, just this energetic way of faith and trusting spirit and walking in everything, you know, with as much wholeness or pain, joy or anger. It's all part of the dance. And, you know, we're supposed to dance. That's what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to get anywhere in particular. We're on God's dance floor. And there's this rhythm, this smoothness, this feeling, this sharing, this music. There's more than we could ever explain or even be able to see going on. And we're meant to share it. And, you know, each person shares it differently at different times. What you guys have created here is a blessing. I remember seeing it and going, oh, I want to watch this. These are two guys I love. I haven't connected with them in a while. And it's like, and then listening to you guys with Leonie and like really, really enjoying it. I don't enjoy a lot of this stuff that I see on there, you know, but the realness of it's the heart. Yeah, I say the heart more than the realness. I can feel you guys. And that's more of what the world needs. And I am really, really proud of you guys for bringing this. I want you to know that. I am freaking proud of you. Like, good freaking job. Aho. Again, I got tears in my eyes, like a fair amount of the time just being with you guys. I've missed this inner depth. Thank you for the gift.
You're welcome.
I know it's a curse.
You're welcome. Well, to go back to your question, Kilmal, about
there was a question.
I don't know. Was there like?
Well, I had something to say about it.
Go for it, bro. Pick it up.
It's
I
not,
have attention.
Don't you love how I stay in format?
no, you do what you do, and you always will, and you always have, and love it. My neighbor's working on his car, so if it gets loud, just tell me. I'll listen. Is that loud?
Nah.
Hear it, but it's not bad.
So anyway,
JR, what? What? Did you say something?
I watched the documentary last night, or a thing on HBO or something. It was on Tiger Woods, but a lot of it was on the relationship between Tiger and his father. And his father saw the greatness and the gift in him real early on, and it actually, one of the things Kiyolama has taught me is about the different powers of, like, psychicness. That's the wrong way to say it, but one of them being kinesthetic, which would be like the psychic power of the body. And the dad realized at a young age that Tiger was special, and he just believed in him so much. He's like, this guy's going to change the world. This guy's going to change the world. This guy's incredible. And just holding that space and nurturing that part of him, and almost obsessively. And you could pick out a lot of things he did wrong, which they emphasize in the movie too. But just seeing the greatness in your kid and in anyone. You were kind of talking about holding the space with your kids and stuff like that. But I was just like, the dad was committed and sure from probably within 3 months that his son was going to be the greatest golfer of all time, and then leverage that to change the world. So they were combined. It was with it. He was going to be the greatest golfer and change the world. And I'm not saying he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but that's what the belief of the father was. And Tiger's human. He's made a lot of mistakes, and he's got to learn a lot, and we'll see where it goes.
Hey, JR, when I met you, I believed in you more than you believed in you.
I'll buy that.
And no, that's one of the things that's one of my gifts is I see things in people, and I'm able to hold this picture of who they are that they can't see yet, and then help them see it and become it. And so, yeah, but doing that for people, doing that for our kids, that's what a lot of friendship is a lot of the time, is being with someone and seeing them and holding them in the space that they can't hold themselves in.
Well, that's what someone had told me, kind of like what Jesus did, and how Jesus was able to heal because he saw everyone in the perfect state and beingness. And then the way he saw him, he was so clear that there could be no disease or anything in because he was so certain. And he only saw them in the best that they could possibly be, where a lot of us, myself, will see like, oh, that guy's dead, instead of seeing, the God in everyone or the greatness in everyone.
And you can take it, where I take that is, in that seeing is actually a frequency. And so as Jesus sees them in that state, this frequency runs through their body, raises their frequency, and what was there cannot exist in the higher frequency. Your disbelief could not stay in the face of my belief.
Oh, so Jack's getting all the credit. Good job.
Spirit called me on the phone, told me, thumbs up, get him the house.
You did good, Jack.
I
love you.
By the way, am I getting paid for this?
No, we're billing you for this.
I'm getting paid for this. I'm getting it in heart dollars.
There you go. We're sending you love, Jack. We're sending you love.
You can write it off. Also. You can write off our bill.
There you go.
How about you, Kiyolama? You share some stuff. What's going on? You've got some good questions. Like you're entering a new chapter into your life, right? You've been in a committed relationship with Alicia for a long time. You guys are separating. You have 2 young kids, and how do you keep the faith and hold positive that, and I know you'll work it out and everything will be good, and I believe in you, but sometimes, like Jack said, others believe in us more than others. It could be, it's the unknown, and it's new to where you're at, and you want to kind of share like what you're learning, what you wish you learned, or anywhere you want to take that as someone.
Before you go there, also, is there anything you need from us? Or anything you would like from us in your journey, Michael?
Just this. Jack, to your statement about pouring ourselves into this has been incredibly helpful. to be able to talk about things that I've had, at least for me, difficulty articulating. A desire to just be in the presence of others and connect, talk, express. And really, I mean, I so look forward to these times because it provides, at least for me, an opportunity to share, to participate, to express, and to be heard. And I feel like, as a man who has worked on exactly this, coming from Asian background, father who wasn't present. When he was, um, you know, not that expressive, more that controller energy and feel. For a long time, I didn't know what I was feeling, let alone how to share it. And so it's been a practice. Um, there's nothing that I feel that I need from either of you, yet I really enjoy and would like more time, with the both of you to be able to just be like this. It feels good. It feels great. And that's something that, JR, to your point, has been a big part of my learning, is that there are things that for a while, I would attempt to express and share, and I didn't feel heard. And I realized that a part of that was that I also wasn't listening. And as I go through this, there's been, a lot of focus, something that you said, Jack, in terms of the rescuer, riding in on my white horse and wanting to save, except not our children. It was Alicia. And intervening and jumping in and wanting to protect and wanting to care. And I feel often to the point where it was a disservice because I didn't allow and instead enabled certain things to happen. And so as I go through this and refocus attention on myself and, the boys, and yes, there is a high degree of uncertainty, which before in more of that controller state, now that I'm in this practice and beingness of letting go and surrender, I'm excited. Like, I know there's a lot of things that are happening. And it's difficult. There's a lot of difficult conversations that we're having, therapy sessions on our own and together, co-parenting, finances, all of these different areas that really have been very intertwined and entangled. That now we're looking at redefining for the both of us. And there is a high degree of uncertainty in both of our lives. And at least for me, because I can only speak for me, I'm excited by that. We've in our relationship together, we've created some tremendous things, co-created two beautiful, amazing children that continue to teach, humble, and inspire me in each and every day and in each and every moment. And, a business that has been something that is supporting people in a way that neither of us could have ever imagined. And as I begin to now enter into this place and this space of openness, there's what I have wanted for myself. And kind of to your point, Jack, it is recognizing there is also what is wanted for me. And that could not have happened in any other way except the circumstance I find myself in now, that we find ourselves in now. Because so focused on things around the house, the ideals that I had, at least, of a husband, of a man, of a father, was that I wasn't spending a whole lot of time, I call him Michelob, but my inner child, my younger self, that those parts of hurt, those parts that are, have been afraid, that have felt unheard. And I was so focused on everyone else that it took this, and I would say nothing short of this, for me to take a moment to be present in my presence and to allow myself to feel like deeply, rawly, the things that I had otherwise pushed to the side and placed into a box. And so a lot of this, and I'm finding, that part in terms of that relationship with inside of myself has allowed me to be more open, more expressive, more vulnerable with others, and continues to lead me, not necessarily uncertainty as it is not yet known. So I walk in wonder. What's next? What's now? And I'm finding that playfulness, Jack, that you talk about, it's there at every step. Because I don't have an expectation. I'm not living in accordance to a specific ideal of how things are meant to be. And as I take those lenses off, I am just present with what is. And that's humbling.
So, Michael,
Yes.
are you done?
I am done. That is my, yep.
I wanted to make sure. You used the word wonder, and I just have to share that if you take those Russian dolls, you take them out and you get to the center one,
Yeah.
wonder is my core. And what I noticed for myself is that there was this romantic infatuation in my relationship that colored everything. And that both my beloved and myself were giving up pieces of ourselves to be with the other. And that in taking that romantic bubble off, which she did over time and breaking up with me, which was 3 weeks ago, but in that romantic bubble kind of popping, I could finally see all the places that it wasn't working, that I was giving myself up. And so it feels so incredible to come back to me, okay? Not to, I lost my beloved or a relationship or this. So even wanting it back, I have no idea. I mean, I love this person, but I have no idea if we'll be friends or what is it. So there's this letting go of everything. And like coming present, this gratitude and appreciation and connection to the two of you in this time together. And like being in the moment so much more than I think I have ever been in my whole life. That if you asked me 3 weeks ago if I wanted to give up my relationship, okay, and that this is what would happen, my answer would have been no. But having gone through it, it's like, oh my God, what a gift. Yeah. And that's the way I look at everything. It's this constant unfolding. And my job is to just keep like being more present, more present, more present. Whatever it is. Yeah. Father, advisor, healer, son. My dad passed like 11 years ago. I still talk to him. Okay, I miss him, but I feel held by him. You know, he was an incredible, incredible man and father and businessman. Wow. But I got to say, I'm a better dad. And I'm only a better dad because he took me further than his dad. And I'm taking my son further than me. He gets to start along the path of wholeness. That's what I believe our job is as parents, is to take our kids. If like, this is my dad. This is my grandfather. That's his life. So he ended here. My dad starts here. Here's my dad's life. Okay? So my dad stops there. So I start here. This is my life. So my son starts here. This is his life. We keep adding more wholeness, okay, within ourselves and our children. And yeah, I'd love to see a way of bringing that more to the world. Maybe it is. Maybe all this dysfunction coming to the surface is so that it can be healed.
Yep.
What, JR?
I definitely think so. I mean, you talk about the different polarities. Why do they have the negative and the positive? The negative is where we learn lessons that brings us to the positive, and, negative and positive are both just opinions. Though I think what's going on right now is, we're learning a whole bunch as a species quickly, and it's bringing it all to the surface. And that's what I choose to believe. And, I choose to believe that a lot of this chaos is miracles happening. It's just a series of this miracle and that miracle and this miracle. And it seems crazy for those who want to hold on to the old way. And it's like, no. But if for like me, I'm in the surrender, and you guys are saying, it's like, well, let's see where this is. It's like, put on my seatbelt.
Aliens are landing. Aliens are landing in 5 years, JR. Get ready.
Here. So,
so, gentlemen, I actually need to log off myself. It's time for me to switch my hat, if you will, to dad hat with the boys. You're welcome to stay on.
no, we'll close.
Okay.
Oh, gee, thanks for asking me, JR.
Man, this is the Dadditude, bro.
Hey, don't cop that Dadditude with me, boy.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. It's been a fun conversation. Jack, love you. Kielama, love you.
Love you both.
And, Jack, you'll be with us
I
when I
love you guys. Have so much gratitude, not only for you, but for this. Like, truly, one of the biggest presents of this year so far. Thank you.
Awesome.
I love you both.
Love you too, brother. Love you too.